So next up, we've got a question from Bilbo Baggins. Hello, Bilbo.
Bilbo.
Who says, given the Torment editions in 9.1, does it feel like the devs are caught in a Mythic plus gotta go fast mindset? Nothing wrong with M+, but it's starting to feel like that's the content the devs default to philosophically. I would say I agree they default to that, and I think the reason why is because it is a elegant enough way of dealing with a bunch of difficulty issues. It basically just works, but it just works in such a way that it changes the texture of the content away from what a lot of people want to experience, which is why you have this little split right now with the people who really like M+, and they gotta go fast and the esportsiness, and then maybe people who are a bit more, wanting the classic style dungeons. Yeah. So for Torghast, I think it's a situation where it's quite hard to design that to be super intricate gameplay for every single class and spec. Therefore, what you can do is slap a timer on it, and away you go. It kind of just works. And I mean, I sort of agree. It does kind of just work.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
It's that weird thing where, I mean, I'd say my favorite single bit of WoW content in the last multiple years is... my greatest regret is obviously the Mage Tower, because that hit at a time where I wasn't in a guild that was raiding, and let's just say life was a bit of a shit show. We were trying to do too many things at once. But other than that, it's Horrific Visions. Horrific Visions is a piece of timer content, and it's one of my favorite bits of content they've done. I absolutely love them. It clicked. It all worked right. So that's a time where the timer, I think, made a lot of sense.
Yeah. And it also wasn't a timer.
True. It was something you could play around. And what I liked about it is, it was a known format. You were going in, you're like, how good can I do this Stormwind run? So you'd be thinking about optimizing it. I don't think it works as well in a Torghasty situation. Now, it's not a hard timer because, completeness and urns and all of that does get you points. Yeah. But I think for Blizzard, it's very hard to do things with the amount of class and spec diversity in the game. So a timer is just kind of like a big catch-all.
Yeah, it's... It's the elegant solution to the problem. Yeah. It's the one differentiating factor, and I think there's nothing wrong with it. It's just because it feels so the primary focus, and it feels deaf to some players' concerns.
It's like, to me, timer stuff just doesn't really fit an MMORPG unless it's somewhere where there's a strong narrative framing for that, like Horrific Visions, or something like a challenge mode where it's kind of expressly that. But that's the thing with me, and I know a lot of people do love Mythic Plus, and I do fully intend to get plus 20 in a bunch of the new dungeons in the next season.
Nice.
Probably going to eat those words, but I really want to do it as a challenge. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe after the Anima challenge, the next thing will be maybe me, you, and Dakor hopping into Mythic Plus, or maybe just me and Dakor.
Yeah, I was going to say the only problem, we definitely can't do that now. It would definitely be a wait to 9.1 thing.
Oh, it's part of the new season,
because
I'd want to go in raw with the Valor point system.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you wanted to do that now with me, you, and Dakor, we could probably crack it out in like a week.
Yeah.
But that's... The timer stuff's so interesting to me. Because I love thinking about like how they design the game and how they would design a game that's significantly more difficult or significantly more engaging.
Yeah.
And it is definitely very difficult because the only core mechanic everyone has access to is moving and dealing damage.
Yeah, so, we've had so many discussions about this in the office where, like, that's the one thing where we very much empathize with Blizzard. Yeah. It's hard given the diversity there. It's like, I'm going in doing a Torghast and my Hunter, and I'm just sitting there being like, wow, what if I was like a mage?
Yeah.
I would just be kiting forever, and that would be that. I mean, some of those bosses, like a high tier boss that's got 500,000 health or whatever, and you're like, man, how does a mage, I'm sitting there, my pet's tanking it, so I'll live, but how does a mage deal with that? I legitimately don't know because I don't play it. Yeah, I assume their powers scale up a lot faster than mine do as a hunter.
They out DPS, go for the instant kill Frostbolt build, or have 20 mirror images. That's basically it. Anima will counteract that a little bit, as well as having time warp. But it's like, it's so... Because they genuinely do struggle. And that's, like, the Mage Tower was really good because they had specific... And they didn't design a specific challenge for every spec. They designed, I think it was 7 or 8 challenges, and then balanced and tweaked them for each spec. And it was perfect in that sense. But, like, even comparing a warrior a hunter, and a mage. Because my initial thought was when you were saying that, I was like, okay, obviously I'm going to use my recent experience as some sort of, as inspiration, but playing Returnal today and yesterday, that's a bullet hell. You dodge stuff. Your mechanic is move, dodge while aiming and shooting.
Yeah.
And that's really simple. They don't have a whole bunch to do with that, so they just have interesting movement and interesting timing of movement. So you have to dodge, you dodge through this, but it leaves you in a bad spot, so you have to watch and see where you're going to be. World of Warcraft can't do that because when you're melee, your ability to move is, you've got a couple yards around the boss. So you have to circle the boss, that's about it. That's all you can do movement-wise, which becomes sidestepping, or else you're a good load of downtime, and then DPS is hard to balance. Hunters, fuck you can do whatever you want.
Yep.
You can do whatever you want. And then mages, warlocks, stuck casting, so you can't have constant movement. And then you're like, okay, you've just, without changing the core conceit of the game's mechanics for a lot of classes, and this is only for DPS, we haven't thought about tanks or healers, you've just got unsolvable problems, which is why they need to actually go out of the way to make specific content that works for every category, which means they're not making one fight, they're making 4 fights. They're making a ranged, a melee, a healer, and a tank fight.
Yeah.
Which is such a nightmare, and that's why timing is there, because it's just go fast. I mean...
Yeah, it's in that it just wraps up a whole bunch of issues for them.
Yeah. And timer's not even perfect, because then that's why healer DPS is so important.
Yeah.
Like, well, there you go.
Yeah, and that's obviously on the Preach interview, another part of contention. Yeah. The Sharky Boy, who says, long-time watcher, feels like the systems people have the wheel and they're never letting go, makes brain hurt. To which I'm like, I agree with that statement.
Brain hurt, yes.
Yeah, the brain hurts, and I totally think the systems people have the wheel at World of Warcraft, and I think it has been humongously to the detriment of the game.
Yeah.
So whatever's changed since Legion, it has led to a very bad path for World of Warcraft, even though Legion itself was a flukish success. But, I mean, was it Craig and Mai who led Artifact Weapons development, and he left the WoW team.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well maybe it worked under him, but then whoever did Azerite, I mean, clearly that was all bad.
Yeah.
Like it was just bad. That's that. So it clearly didn't work again, and yeah.
Well, I'll say it. I think we said every time Legion's brought up, it had a very, very, very engaging, fun, unique quest lines for every class in the game.
Yeah.
It was literally hours of spending time in a place that was important to your specific class. You could do that on 11 other classes. Where's that? There you go. Do that, and I'll be happy. Basically.
Yeah.